What if the unimaginable happened? What if the world's most powerful military set its sights on Africa's largest nation? Picture the scene. It's 4:12 a.m. in Lagos, a humid night. Generators hum. Tankers line the harbor. People are asleep in millions of apartments stocked like concrete forests. Nothing feels unusual until phones buzz awake with a frantic alert. Unidentified aircraft approaching Nigerian airspace. Then, silence. A moment later, a shockwave rolls across the city like the sky itself has cracked. Windows tremble, alarms scream, and far offshore, a fleet emerges. Not fishing boats, not commercial vessels, but gray silhouettes the size of skyscrapers. U.S. Navy strike groups cutting through the water like knives through black glass. Jets ignite from the decks, dozens, then hundreds, each one flaring into the night like sparks from a cosmic forge. People run outside, staring upward. Some film, some pray. Africa's biggest democracy, home to more than 220 million people, one of the fastest growing economies on Earth, has just become the epicenter of the most shocking military move in modern history. Nigeria's government scrambles. The Nigerian armed forces mobilize. The world watches in disbelief. Would this be a lightning-fast U.S. victory, a catastrophic quagmire, or the spark that pulls multiple global powers into a crisis that reshapes the 21st century? This is a story of oil, trade routes, alliances, and 21st century geopolitics colliding at full speed. Today, we're diving deep into a purely hypothetical scenario, an alternate reality where the United States invades Nigeria. Strap in. This one is intense. Before we jump into the chaos, we need to understand why an invasion like this, while wildly unrealistic, would shock the global system more than almost any other modern conflict. Nigeria isn't a small state. It's a continental heavyweight. It holds Africa's largest economy, its largest population, and one of the world's most strategically valuable coastlines. Its ports connect West Africa to Europe, the Americas, and the Middle East. Its oil exports, about 1.2 billion barrels per day, are a critical artery for global markets. But perhaps most importantly, Nigeria is a nation of immense internal complexity. For the United States, any military move here would be staggeringly complicated, because Nigeria has something many nations don't: geographical advantage. From the swamps of the Niger Delta to the dense Lagos metropolis, to the vast northern plains and the rugged border regions touching Niger, Cameroon, and Chad, Nigeria is one of the hardest countries on earth to occupy. And its military, Africa's third largest, has hard-won experience fighting asymmetric warfare and urban combat. It fields tanks, artillery, naval forces, and roughly 200,000 active personnel, backed by millions of citizens ready to defend their homeland. So, what could possibly lead to this nightmare scenario? In our alternate timeline, it begins with a crisis. Accusations of sabotage, a breakdown in diplomacy, and then an American drone is shot down near the Gulf of Guinea. Within hours, Washington claims self-defense. Nigeria denies everything. International negotiations collapse. And through a catastrophic series of miscalculations, the U.S. launches the most controversial operation in its modern history. The invasion begins with what the Pentagon calls Operation Iron Meridian. Massive U.S. air power floods the skies, not to destroy cities, but to blind and cripple military targets: radar, air bases, communication hubs, and naval assets. Nigerian air defenses fire back. SA-3s, SA-7s, Ehrlichen cannons, but the sheer volume of American electronic warfare overwhelms them. Airfields in Port Harcourt, Abuja, and Kano come under precision strike. Nigeria's Air Force scrambles its JF-17 fighters, but they face waves of F-35s and Super Hornets. The fight is desperate. But this is only the beginning. After the skies are contested, the U.S. lands Marines along two strategic locations, near Lagos, the economic heart, and near the Niger Delta, the oil hub. The objective is to seize ports, secure offshore facilities, and disable the Nigerian Navy. But here's where things shift.
Nigeria's population density makes amphibious landings incredibly risky. Street-level resistance, militia groups, and civilian volunteers flood neighborhoods, transforming Lagos into a labyrinth of resistance. This isn't Iraq. This isn't Afghanistan. It's a megacity of 25 million people, and every street becomes a battleground. American forces push inward with armored vehicles and drones, but Nigeria blocks bridges, floods streets, and launches guerrilla ambushes in the cramped districts of Victoria Island and Lekki. The U.S. captures key ports, but progress is painfully slow. While the South burns, the North becomes a geopolitical powder keg. Nigeria's northern states rally against the invasion. Tens of thousands join irregular defense units, but something else happens too. Regional powers react. Niger, Chad, and Cameroon close borders. The African Union, citing its policy of condemning uninvited foreign forces, leads a global diplomatic charge against the invasion. Even nations traditionally aligned with the U.S. recoil. The U.S. now faces a nightmare. Urban warfare in the south, desert warfare in the north, and asymmetric warfare everywhere else. The invasion triggers immediate global consequences. Oil prices skyrocket to over $200 per barrel. International shipping in West Africa halts. China, which has billions invested in Nigerian infrastructure, deploys naval assets for protection of nationals. Russia issues threats. This is no longer a U.S.-Nigeria conflict. It's a global crisis. Inside Nigeria, the humanitarian situation collapses. Millions flee cities. Internet blackouts spread. Food prices triple. The world demands a ceasefire, but neither side is ready to back down. The turning point arrives around day 40. The U.S.
attempts to seize Abuja, believing that capturing the capital will force negotiations. But Nigeria's military has entrenched itself deeply. Anti-air systems are hidden in forests, armored units are disguised among civilian convoys, special forces operate in small mobile teams, and the terrain, rocky, elevated, and unpredictable, creates natural choke points. The U.S. advances, but too slowly. Nigerian forces use drones for surveillance, hunting supply lines, and isolating American units. The battle becomes a grueling stalemate. Meanwhile, global outrage grows. African nations begin deploying peacekeeping forces, not against Nigeria, but to block further American expansion. Mass protests erupt worldwide. Congress, back home in the U.S., pressures the administration to withdraw. Nigeria, battered but unbroken, refuses to surrender. Its citizens rally in the millions. Abuja stands firm. Casualties rise on both sides. The conflict becomes politically unsustainable. And then it happens. A ceasefire. Negotiated through the UN and the African Union, both sides agree to halt operations. The U.S. withdraws its frontline forces. Nigeria retains control of its government. The world breathes again. But the fallout is immense. The global economy plunges into recession. Oil markets remain unstable for years. Africa's geopolitical landscape transforms, with new alliances forming in response. Billions are spent on rebuilding, and the United States faces one of the most damaging diplomatic disasters in its history. In this alternate timeline, no one wins. An invasion of Nigeria, one of Africa's strongest and most important nations, would be catastrophic for everyone. The United States, despite its overwhelming military, would face fierce urban resistance, brutal terrain, and global condemnation. Nigeria would endure heavy infrastructure damage, humanitarian crises, and unimaginable hardship. And the world would be thrown into chaos. This scenario isn't just unlikely, it's almost unthinkable. In reality, Nigeria and the United States are partners in trade and security. But alternate histories like this help us explore deeper questions. How do nations respond to crisis? What happens when great powers overextend? And what would the world look like if one wrong decision set everything on fire? It makes you wonder, what would be the single biggest consequence of a war like this? Would it be the economic collapse, the global political backlash, or something entirely different? Let me know what you think.
And if you want more intense geopolitical what-if scenarios, get ready for our next episode. What if China and India went to war in 2030? You won't want to miss it. Stay curious, stay aware, and stay prepared for the world's biggest what-ifs.